Hello, welcome to MCFC 9320. This afternoon, I'm delighted to welcome former Newcastle player Derek Bell. Thanks for joining us, buddy.
Yep, no problem, Andy.
Yeah.
It's a pleasure.
How are you?
Yeah, all good. Yeah, a lot of changes in the past 12 months at the Toon, all for the better. I have to say, it's been a traumatic 12 years under the previous ownership of Mike Ashley. Basically stripped the club of everything, really. So it wasn't enjoyable, but yeah, good times ahead, I hope.
Yeah, those 12 years pretty much they in line really when Ashley turned a bid down from Sheikh Mansour, obviously our owners now. So things could have been so much different. You could have pretty much been in City's position now, really, couldn't you? 12 years on.
Yeah, I mean, it's say how things change around, but I just think it's the ignorance of the man in general that when people like Sir Sheikh Mansour come in and, they're very wealthy people and interest in sport as well, he actually didn't even turn up at the meeting. So that was the ignorance of the man. But yeah, but certainly, the new owners now hopefully potentially will take the club forward.
So you are officially the richest club in the world. Now we've had that tag, and it was just like, wow. What we found, Eric, was a lot of jealousy, a lot of negativity surrounding it. You will find 99.9% of City fans will actually embrace, Newcastle getting the wealth. We're not bothered about Chelsea, with their wealth. Listen, if somebody wants to come in and spend their hard-earned cash on buying a football club, and I always do the analogy of if you've got two corner shops, one wins the lottery, is allowed or she's allowed to modernize their shop however they want, and it's nothing to do with the person on the other end. It's just the way the world goes. It isn't. We, as I say, we found so much jealousy and stuff like that. But I'm really intrigued to see how Newcastle, evolve, because you've got a tremendous fan base, and something they bloody deserve it, because they've,
Yeah,
they've been in the mire, like City fans have down the years.
I mean, 1969, the last time Newcastle ever won anything. Although I was part of a team that did win the Hong Kong Cup back in 1983 in Thailand, but that never gets a mention, like the pre-season tour. But yeah, 1969 was the last time we won a cup. And I think, over the years, they had the great years with the Keegan eras, the entertainers. We had a chance of winning the league then and fell away by your rivals United at the last moment. So, the supporters of Newcastle have supported them thick and thin. And I think at the end of the day, all we want, I mean, yes, would be nice to be in the top four, the top six. But I think if you talk to the Castle supporters, all they want is a team that goes out and tries,
Yeah.
and a team that shows some ambition and shows some enthusiasm and gives our all. Likewise, off the park, you want an owner who genuinely embraces with the fans and has a plan. But neither of those under the Ashe years happened. Managers come and go, whether they're good, bad, indifferent, whatever. But I think the budget they had was they'll never had one, because the owner just didn't want to spend the money. But not only that, behind the scenes, he just basically ran the club on a shoestring. They had one CEO and that was it. They had no board of directors. There's nobody answerable to them. So, and then on the park, we've been up and down the leagues over the past 10 years. So, and I think, going back to what I said, I think the supporters, yes, it'd be nice to win leagues and be up there with your Cities and your Chelseas and your Man United. Well, we're not talking
Yeah, and I don't want Newcastle to be up there with it, or I should say down there with the Man United, mate.
So yeah, but to be fair, the new owners have come in and they haven't splashed the cash, if you like. Yeah, it's nice to say they're the richest on paper, the richest club in the world, but they haven't went out and possibly learned from some of the mistakes that Abramovich made and possibly City made in the early days.
Yeah, it's right that, because we first thing City did, we went out and we splashed the cash on average players, really. Some average players. Don't get me wrong, we got some bargains as well, like your Vincent Companies, etc. But it's very, very similar to setup, because although we fast tracked ourselves at the time, there was no financial fair play restrictions there, but now there is. Newcastle, they've got no choice but to do it the right organic way, really, because otherwise, you'll just get a free for all. But some of the players, what you brought in, some of the players you've got, I've jotted a few down. I love seeing Miguel Alvaron, Joe Linton, Alan Saint-Maximin, and even Callum Wilson. If you've got a steady backbone, you can add the quality, and you will get players not going to Newcastle because of the money. Like we saw that, in the early days, but because of the bigger picture.
Yeah. And you look at the latest signings, the January window, the signed Trippier. I think he's a better player than Trent Alexander-Arnold. He's a better defender and he's a better all-round player. They got him for 15 million. They paid 35 million for Brazilian Bruno.
Yeah.
They brought in this year Taggart, who was obviously on loan, for 12 million. They've bought in, who's the other one? I'm trying to think.
I agree with I agree with Trippier. Trippier, he came through our academy, and he's had a good footballing education, because I think he went. He went to I think it was Burnley after he got released from City, then Spurs, and then he went over to, was it Valencia or Atletico? It was and so Athletic. So he's had a great footballing, not a journeyman, but a journey. It's been an education for him, because he's. I agree with you. I think Trent Alexander-Arnold is very, very overrated.
So they've spent wisely. Again, fair play comes into that, because of the income that they've had over the years, they're not allowed to spend 150 million on a player because of fair play. So, but they've bought really well. Botman, he's only 23-year-old, looks a good player, centre back, international, and I think before the end of the window, if they can get maybe one or two more in, probably loan deals, I think they're looking at now. Maddison, we don't know what's happening at Leicester. Maddison's been touted about. Pulisic from Chelsea's been touted about, to come to Newcastle on loan. So I think if they get one or two more players before the end of the window, I don't think we'll be stopping at the bottom of the league, but certainly, contending somewhere up the top 10 would be a good season for us. And this myth about we're going to win the league, that'll not happen for many, many years, because of the fair play, because of who we can buy. So it's a plan that the club's got, but at least they've got a plan, and the fans can see that. The fans can see that they're not only investing in the team, they're investing in the ground. There's talk about them building a new stadium in another part of the city. The redeveloping the training ground, which was, I think it was the same when I was there many years ago. 20, 30, 40 years ago. It's never changed.
You're not that old.
Hey, yeah. So I think, there's a plan there. And I think the fans can see that, and they appreciate that there is a plan, and that is, hopefully good times around the corner.
One big thing for me where it proves that the new owners have got the feet on the ground and they're realistic. They didn't go out and go for one of these huge name managers to come in. They saw in Eddie Howe, and I rate Eddie Howe massively, and I know Pep does as well. He was an up and coming manager. Where was he? Was he at Bournemouth? Was he at Burnley, and then he went to Bournemouth? and he's another one who's gone around. You know, he's got his football education. He's still young, and he will grow with Newcastle because he understands and he buys into, you know, what a club is about, and you know, whether, you know, the realism of, he understands that he's not going to be able to go and sign Messi, Ronaldo's, you know, that ilk. You've got to do it steady. So I rate Eddie Howe massively.
I mean, one of the things that Eddie Howe has done, yes, it's good having the new players, which we've talked about, but he's brought the best out of your Almirons and your Joe Lintons. I mean, you know, Joe Linton under Steve Bruce couldn't hit a barn door,
Yeah.
you know, but he's been a revelation under Eddie Howe. Almiron, you know, he's come on leaps and bounds. So he's starting to get John Joe Shelby, who was sort of a bit of dead wood, you know, all of a sudden he's starting to perform a bit. So, and Eddie Howe, yes, we've got new players going in, but he's managed to galvanise and get the best out of some of the players who were just basically picking their wages up, and you know, you know, they know they're out the door if they don't comply, and he's getting the best out of these players now. So all round, you know, they're like new players, although they've been at the club, but he's starting to get the best out of them and playing them in the correct positions, which suits the side.
Yeah, I can see you adding to your squad before the end of the window, and I hope you do, because like you said, like finishing say 10th, you'll finish higher than that, because not just because of the resources you've got, but Eddie Howe in particular. And like you just pinpointed that, I actually had it wrote down there about players what was currently at Newcastle, what he's actually brought the best out of, and it proved that, you know, the back end of last season, the way all of a sudden, you know, some people say, yeah, well, they brought players in. Well, you know yourself, mate. It's difficult for new players to come into a club and adapt so quickly. So it just shows like his managing methods, you know, was the key ingredient for that.
Yeah, 100%. You know, you go on about Fabian Schär. You know, he's a Swiss international. He was mediocre. You know, there's now competition for places where beforehand there wasn't any competition. Yes, you got the 5 subs now, more on the bench. So in that respect, you know, a couple of more players, a couple of loan deals, and I think we'll be happy going into the season.
Yeah, are you a fan of having 5 on the bench?
Yes and no. I think it has its benefits, because obviously you can bring, you know, if you need to chase a game, you can bring maybe 3 forwards on. But then, you know, some clubs will use it. They'll put 3 subs on at 90 minutes, and then they'll put another 2 subs on it, you know, a minute later. So I hope it doesn't. I hope it doesn't. It's used in the right way and doesn't get flawed and people abuse the system, if you like.
Yeah. So you've had 2 league games so far. Great result against Forest, because it's always really tricky against, you know, promoted teams to come up, and a draw against Brighton. Brighton have been flying, really. You know, they beat them lot over the road 2-0. So it's the foundations are there for you. I think it's going to be an intriguing game on Sunday. I really do. You always give us a tough game at St James's.
Yeah, well, not last year. We got hammered 4-0. I was actually at the game, and I think I watched the second half on the bar, but there you go, that's a different match. You know, I think at the end of the day, you know, City are a fantastic team. You know, the quality they've got and the signing of Haaland. I think you've always been looking for that little bit piece in the jigsaw, and I think this year the signing of Haaland will be that piece in the jigsaw. You know, because yeah, I think it's between yourself and Liverpool. Liverpool have had a bit of a tricky start, but they'll come good again. It's interesting to see what Chelsea do, but I think City is probably the best side in the league.
Yeah,
Proved that last year winning it, but you've added to your squad. But I think it'll be a game where I expect City to win. Don't get us wrong. You know, coming from a purely neutral point of view, yes, I'd love Newcastle to win, obviously, but I don't think it'll be such a walkover. I hope not, as to what happened sort of last year. And I don't think we've won for 7 games against you now. So Yeah, it'll be certainly a good fixture. One to look forward to. It'll see how far we are as a club. You know, how far we're off being, that top four side, if you like. So yeah, I think it'll be a really good open game because at times we don't know how to defend, but with the likes of De Bruyne and Silva and well, you can go on with your name.
Yeah.
Grealish, 20 players. He may get a bit of stick, mind, giving Almiron some stick. When he made that comment about being a shit Almiron. So yeah, I think Grealish will be marked out for a bit of stick if he plays. But yeah, I'm looking forward to the game. And if we get any kind of result, a draw or a win, even a draw, I'll be more than happy.
As we're approaching the transfer window, who would you like to see come into Newcastle?
I would certainly take Maddison. I think one of the key areas where we're looking to strengthen. I think we're okay at the back now with Botman, Byrne, Shaw, Fernandez, Trippier. We've got Taggart. So I think the back five, obviously we're saying Pope, the goalkeeper. So I think the defence is okay. Centre midfield, possibly another player. On about Paqueta, who is at he's at Leon, I think, or Lille at the minute. Yeah. It's Bruno's mate from Brazil. He's put a transfer in. Been talked about him. So I'd say a midfield player, another midfield player, and certainly up front. Yes, Callum Wilson is a fantastic player, but he's quite injury prone. So I think if he gets injured, I don't think we've got abundance of strikers that could come in his place. So I think if we had two, I'd go for Maddison on the right because yes, Almiron at times, might agree with Grealish here. He sort of runs about. His work rate is phenomenal, but his end product. Whereas Maddison, when he gets in and around the box, he always creates.
It's clinical, and yeah. I think there's a great chance of getting Maddison as well because there seems to be a bit of turmoil at Leicester. There's been a few players who are going, a few players who are touted like Fofana, Kasper Schmeichel gone to Nice. It's like that. That surprised me. So it looks like they're in transition and might need to offload, and some players might want to go because of what's happening. I think Maddison would be brilliant for you, I really do.
Yeah. So hopefully Maddison, another centre midfield player and striker, and then as I said, if that happens, then it'll be a really good season to look forward to. How many more are you going to sign anyway?
I think Pep says he's done, so I expect one more.
They always say they're done, and then all of a sudden, last minute, they come out with the cat rabbit out the hat, don't they?
Yeah. Now the Bernardo Silva saga's put to bed, that is going nowhere. They can settle down a bit. So what's your prediction for Sunday?
I'll like to go 2-1 Newcastle. I think there'll be goals in the game. I would like to think Newcastle will get a win, but if I was to be perfectly honest, a draw would be a good result, 2-2.
Yeah. And where do you realistically think you'll finish in the league?
I don't think we'll get in the top 6. I think we'll finish between 6th and 10th. If you look at, Arsenal have spent a lot of money this year. They look quite good. Chelsea's always going to be up there. Yourselves, Liverpool, Tottenham, and then after that, I would like to think anywhere between 5 and 10th or 5 and 8th would be a season for win. It would be nice to win a cup. As I said before, we haven't won anything since 1969, apart from the Hong Kong Cup. I remember that one.
I believe you played in that, Derek.
I did, yes. It was like a vase, but this big vase presented to by the ambassador of Thailand or whatever it was. I remember Terry McDermott going out and buying a bunch of flowers and putting in the vase. They weren't very happy with that, but there you go.
I bet there wasn't. Listen, buddy, I really appreciate your time. I know you're a busy man. I'll be watching with interest on Sunday, and you never know. I think it will be an open game. Obviously, I want the Blues to win, but if we don't, we don't. And I think a 2-1 either way will be right.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, buddy.
No problem. Appreciate it.
Thanks for joining us, Derek.
Anytime, Andy. You
Cheers,
take
pal.
care. Have a good season.
Cheers, buddy. Bye bye.